myself. So I'm Arvind. I've been working. I've been worked on various roles, starting from a system administrator to an architect role. I have been associated with Red Hat products from past 15 years, uh, dealing with operating systems to cloud-based platforms, and where I also gave solutions based on the customer requirements. So that's a quick introduction of myself. So let's jump into the topic for today, which is introduction to Red Hat Ansible Automation platform. Okay, so before we move on, just want to give you a quick update that this session will be is designed to run for at least 1 hour, where we will be talking about why do we need automation and how Ansible can help to automate your daily day-to-day tasks. We will also be talking about Ansible Engine and Tower as well. And then we will talk about Ansible features, benefits, followed by the Ansible use cases. And last but not the least, we will also talk about the Red Hat Ansible course curriculum, where we will be discussing about the various courses that Red Hat has, especially for Ansible, where it will be easy for you to lay a path towards the automation using that curriculum. And of course, at the end of the session, we will also have a Q&A, where you can ask if you have any questions, and even in between the session, even if you have any questions with respect to the concepts or the topic, you can just feel free to drop a question in the chat box, and I'll address those questions at the end of the talk. Okay, good. All right, then let's start. So before we jump into Red Hat Ansible automation, we first have to understand why do we need automation, or why organizations need automation. Okay, so the automation in most of the organizations happens in ad hoc basis. When I say ad hoc basis, it is being performed on the date based on the day-to-day request that they receive. Okay, let's say as an infrastructure person, there might be a common day-to-day task which I need to address maybe once in a week or twice in a week. So similarly, DevOps, security, and all the various teams in an organization, they have their own set of ad hoc activities. Rather than ad hoc, I would say it is a repeatable task that they do it on a regular basis. So these are the automations that happens in silos. When I say silos, that automation is specific to that particular team, or specific to that particular person. As an example, as an infrastructure person, I might need a script which reboots a server, once in a month, or maybe at the weekends. So I will write my own script, whether it can be a shell script or any kind of script, which will try to reboot my server. Same thing when even the developers also need a script to reboot a server. Then even the developers will write their own code or their own script to reboot a server. So the script which is written by developers is not used by the infrastructure person. Similarly, the scripts which are written by other teams will not be used by other teams, because each of these teams work as silos. So this is the main drawback of organization, where the automation is happening within the team. Okay, so this has to be moved, and then so from this kind of environment, we have to move to an environment. So the current organizations, they use isolated scripts. Okay, so when I say isolated scripts, every team will have their own scripts to automate a function, but this will not automate the organization codes. So from this kind of automating functions, we have to move to a culture of automation where the automation has to automate the organizations rather than the functions. So let's take the same example. So if being an infrastructure person, if I have a script which reboots a server, the same script should be able to use by any other team inside my organization. So one reboot script can serve the purpose of rebooting a server to any team. Similarly, any task which we have or any script that we create, that should be used across the teams. So that is the reason of moving a traditional automation functions to an automation. We have to move towards an culture of automation rather than working in silos. No. So what is the problem in achieving this kind of automation? There are three key problems. First is innovation, next is tools, and followed by the people. When I say innovation, automation requires integration across domains. So let's say if an organization has an automation tool, that automation tool will be able to handle any automation task across the domain. So let's say if I have, let's take an example of Ansible itself. So if I have Ansible is an automation tool, right? This automation tool will be able to talk to any of your infrastructure components such as servers, storage, network, including the public cloud. So that is where your automation will integrate all of these domains so that you can run the what you call automation. Similarly, tools. So some tools, they have their own vendor specific tools to automate their tasks. Okay. So your automation should also talk to those vendor specific tools such that it can even automate those particular tools. Let's say if you have a Cisco router or a Cisco switch, or it can be any vendor specific device where Ansible can talk to that particular device, to the tool which is specified by that specific vendor, and then the Ansible will be able to automate that particular piece of task. And the next thing is, the next problem with the automation is people, that is technical skill set gap. So every time when an organization brings in a new automation tool, the team has to learn, understand. Okay, let's say if you have any automation tool, let's know if it uses Python as a code language, the team has to learn Python in order to implement that particular tool. Or else if it is Ruby, the team has to learn Ruby and then they have to write the automation scripts to automate. So these are the three problems where your Ansible will come into picture to address these three issues in terms of automation. Now, so the next thing is when the automation crosses the team, okay, or when the automation spans across the teams, you need an automation platform. Okay, if you see a page at the center right, that is the script, let's say, to reboot a server. So the same script can be used by any of my team members inside the organization. It can be a network team, it can be a security team, or it can be a operations and developers team. So that makes the automation easier for the team to use inside an organization, so that the other teams don't have to rewrite the script again to perform the task. So the script is already ready. Once the script is ready, anybody will be able, anyone inside the team will be able to run those scripts. Okay. The next thing is what automation platform, how it can help you. Okay. So automation platform will help you to create the environment. It will also help you to scale the requirement. When I say scale, the same script can be used by the multiple teams. So that's where the scaling it comes into picture. And then you can engage various teams and various platforms in order to complete a complex task. So these so whenever you choose a particular automation platform, you need to consider these three things. Okay, it should be able to create, scale, and engage as per the business requirement. Now, so the next thing is, so the Ansible automation platform will solve your problem where it can scale, create, and it can also engage teams inside. So when you talk about Ansible automation platform, Ansible automation platform has two major components. One is Ansible Engine, and the second one is Ansible Tower. So Ansible, we will look into these two components in detail in the upcoming slides. So just to give you a heads up, Ansible Engine is a universal language of automation where people can use a common language to write a script, and then the Ansible Engine is the core part of the Ansible automation, which drives the entire automation. And Ansible Tower, basically it is used to operate and control the operations, and it sits on top of Ansible Engine. So Ansible Tower will send all the requests or triggers to the Ansible Engine, and Ansible Engine will actually run the task, or it will actually run the scripts. And on top of this tower, you have Ansible software as a service offering from Red Hat, where you can manage the various Ansible Tower clusters that you have can be managed from the Red Hat SaaS offering from cloud.redhat.com. So we will also talk about this one in detail. So if you look at these things, the same Ansible automation platform can be used by various teams, including the line of business people, okay, which includes network, security, operation, infrastructure. So one platform serves all your automation needs in an organization, okay, and Ansible automation will help you to automate these operations. Now, so what Ansible can automate? Okay, Ansible, if you look at the screen, it can automate cloud infrastructures such as AWS, Azure, Google, followed by DigitalOcean or OpenStack. As far as operating systems are concerned, it can automate your RHEL, Windows, and it also includes satellite servers. It automates network devices as well, includes Cisco, F5, Juniper. Similarly, it can also automate your security tasks, monitoring tasks, and it also includes your DevOps. So Ansible has almost like 3,000 plus modules, which are spanned across multiple domains, multiple vendors, where it can automate those particular tasks on their particular devices. So we will talk about Ansible modules when we talk about Ansible Engine. So to understand what a module is and how a module is leveraged on to automate a particular task. Okay, so moving on. So these are some of the Ansible features and benefits. Okay, so the first benefit is start right away. So that is, so probably you might have already aware of what Ansible is. So Ansible is basically an agentless automation. So because it is agentless, you don't have to install any software on the client machine, so that you can start the automation straight away. You don't have to install, configure anything on the client side. And of course, as I said, Ansible is designed for people, where it uses a YAML language, which is a simple language, so that you don't have to be a programmer to write a script. Okay, you don't have to have the knowledge of either Python or Ruby. So a simple YAML language will help you to automate a task. And we'll also see a sample YAML file to see how we can automate a particular task. And of course, as I said, Ansible can also manage the complex tasks with the help of what you call workflows inside Ansible Tower, which we'll also talk in the when we are talking about Ansible Tower. So what it does is you can club one or more automation task into a group, and it can form as a workflow, and this workflow will help you to automate a complex task, okay, so without any human intervention. And similarly, as I said, repetition. So there is no repetition in Ansible. As I said, if you have one playbook or one script, which let's say which reboots a server, the same script can be used by every person in an organization. They don't have to rewrite the code. Okay, and of course, start with security. Of course, as I said, Ansible also supports security devices and security, right from server hardening to a security device automation. And the last but not the least is AWX project. So AWX project is the open source project. When I say open source, AWX is the upstream project for Ansible. Okay, so there are a lot of thousands and thousands of people are working in community to improve the Ansible. When Red Hat acquired Ansible, prior to acquiring, it used to have a few hundreds of modules. But as soon as Red Hat has acquired Ansible, it now has almost like 3,000 plus modules. So you can imagine how rigorously the community is working, or the Red Hat is working to build more and more modules to automate, the devices. Okay, moving on. These are some of the Ansible use cases. So Ansible is not just a configuration management system. Okay, people usually say that Ansible will do a configuration management system. So apart from configuration management, it also has a lot of other use cases. The first case is configuration management. So Ansible Automation can perform configuration management across your organization, be it is a Linux or Windows, or it can be a network switch, or it can be even as a router. It can also do configuration management even on the public cloud based environment. And then, of course, Ansible can also do app deployments, whether it can be a bare metal or whether it can be even on a environment where you have even the DevOps. Similarly, Ansible can also do provisioning. When I say provisioning, it takes care of all type of provisioning, such as from bare metal provisioning to a server provision on a public cloud. So all these things can be performed using Ansible. Okay, and then Ansible, as I said, you can also integrate Ansible into your CI/CD pipelines, where the DevOps can totally leverage on Ansible to automate your continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. Okay, and of course, you can Ansible can also do a security and compliance either on your workstations or servers or even on your networking devices. And I said Ansible can also do orchestration, where you can club multiple automation tasks together to form a workflows, and that workflows will help you to orchestrate a complex task. Okay, so as an example, let's say you wanted to patch one of the server. Let's say it can be a Windows, it can be a Linux, it can be any, the client can be anything. So in such scenarios, what are the common tasks that you encounter when you wanted to patch a server? First thing is you have to shut down the application, then you have to shut down the, you have to patch the application, then reboot the server, and then you have to start the application. These four tasks, you can combine these four tasks and then form as a workflow, and that will help you to orchestrate the four tasks in a sequential order. So that is where your tower comes into picture in terms of orchestration. Okay. So moving on. So now we talk about the Red Hat Ansible Engine, which is the universal language of automation. Okay. Now moving on, so we will take the same picture of Ansible automation platform, and if you look at the the architecture diagram, so you have create, scale, and engage, right? The bottom part of Ansible automation, which is create, is nothing but your Ansible engine. Okay, so Ansible engine, as I said, it's the core part of your Ansible automation. Okay, and the features of Ansible engine are: it is simple, powerful, and agentless. Okay, so now we look at what is the simple, powerful, and agentless. Now, Ansible engine is simple. When I say simple, the automation language is in human readable language, which is YAML. Okay, and the person who is implementing or writing the automation script doesn't have to have any special coding skills. Okay, so he can just straight away jump in and start writing a YAML script, and the reason is because all the modules are already defined and written in Python. So you don't have to write any modules. So you just have to use those modules to automate a task. And then, of course, automation, this Ansible engine executes tasks in order, and the same automation script can be used by any team member inside your organization. So they don't have to rewrite the code. And then Ansible engine is powerful. So as I said, Ansible is not just a configuration management tool. It can do your application deployment. It can do configuration management. It can do a workflow orchestration where you can bundle series of automation tasks into a bundle, which they call it as workflows, and you can run the workflows. And the key important point or the best selling point for Ansible is network automation. So most of the automation tools in the market doesn't have the network modules in their automations. Ansible, as far as I know, is the only platform which has all the predefined modules to automate a network device. It can be a Cisco F5, or it's Barracuda, or it can be any network device. And then it is agentless. As I said, you don't have to install any agent on the client. So it traditionally or typically it leverages on OpenSSH or WinRM. OpenSSH is for Unix-based machines. It can be a Unix-based server, or it can be a switch or a router. And for Windows, it uses WinRM protocol to log into Windows Server. And of course, when there are no agents installed, there will be no exploitation, or you won't have to update your clients. That's the advantage of using agentless. And of course, because this Ansible automation is agentless, you can start your automation immediately without having to bother about configuring the clients. That's the advantage of agentless. Okay, so these are some of the key features of Ansible. So now let's talk about how Ansible engine works. Okay, so Ansible engine, as I said, is nothing but writing a playbook and then running a playbook, and that playbook will talk to the respective hosts or devices, and then it will perform the task. Okay, so the key portion here is the box, which is in red color, plays a major crucial role. Okay, which is Ansible automation engine. So the playbook will have all the details such as modules, plugins, so that the user, when he runs the Ansible playbook will check the inventory. Based on the inventory, it will run a particular task using the Ansible modules, and then it automates a particular task. Okay. Now let's look at how we can write. We will see how we can write an Ansible playbook by using these four components like inventory, modules, and the place inside the playbook. Okay. Okay. The next thing is Playbooks, as I said, they are written in YAML language. They call it as YAML markup language. Okay, and the tasks inside the playbooks are executed sequentially, and the playbooks in turn at the back end invokes the Ansible modules to perform a particular task. Okay, so let's understand a simple playbook. So this is a simple playbook where I have some activities running on some web servers and another activity running on for database servers, where in the task it is trying to install the latest version of Apache, and it is trying to configure the Apache configuration. Similarly, uh, and in the second task, I'm installing the PostgreSQL. I'm starting the PostgreSQL. This is a simple example, but it all depends upon what is the task that you are trying to automate. Okay. Now, this is the playbook. The playbook, if you observe, is a collection of plays. Playbook is a collection of plays. So when I say play is a small piece of code which will be run on a set of servers. Okay. Now, plays will have tasks. So inside a play, we will define tasks. What task you wanted to perform? Rebooting a server, installing a package, pinging a server, or installing a software, removing a software, creating a user. It can be any task. Okay, and then inside the task, you will have modules. Okay, so if you observe the blue boxes, yum, which is nothing but a module which is used to install a package on Red Hat based machines. Okay, you don't have to talk about template because you need to understand what template is. Template is one of the another module which basically uses JSON to update the configuration file. That's a different story. And then you have services, you have users, you have groups. So a lot of modules which we can use to automate a task. So in a nutshell, playbook is a combination of plays. Plays is a collection of tasks, and tasks will have a set of modules which will perform the activity. So if you observe the playbook, you don't see any if while condition loops or typical programming language. By reading this file, you can easily understand what this particular playbook will do. That's the beautiness of YAML, so that it is easy to understand and easy to write. So that's the key advantage of using YAML instead of traditional programming languages like Python and Ruby. Okay, moving on. So as I said, modules is the actual Python code which are readily available with the Ansible subscription, where the organizations can directly leverage on these modules to automate a particular task. And the task can be any task, right from copying a file to deleting a file or rebooting a server. It can be any task. And then inventory. Coming part to inventory, as the name itself indicates, inventory is a list of systems that Ansible will manage. Okay, and you can segregate the inventory based on the group. Let's say you can group all your web servers, or you can group all your database servers. Similarly, you can group the servers based on the environment type, production servers or testing servers. Similarly, you can also segregate them based on it can be switches or firewalls. It can be a load balancing as well. Okay, so that is how you write the inventory file, where whenever you run a playbook, you will be defining the host, and that host will be picked up from the inventory file. And if there is no server mentioned in the inventory file, Ansible will not be able to execute any command on the particular host because the host entry is not found in the inventory file. Similarly, as I said, Ansible can also talk to the cloud. It can get the inventory details from the cloud as well. Let's say if your environment is running a mixed environment or a hybrid environment where you have on-prem as well as public cloud. So Ansible can also get that inventory which is in your public cloud into Ansible, so that Ansible will be able to manage even the cloud infrastructure. So you can use Ansible automation platform both for on-prem or on public cloud based environments. And then of course, CMDB is the configuration management database system where you can fetch the inventory from a configuration management database. It can be ServiceNow, or it can be a Cobbler, or it can be VMC CMDB, or if you have any custom CMDB scripts, your Ansible can talk to those scripts and it can generate your own inventory. Basically, the inventory that you see now is a kind of dynamic inventory. So if you look at my previous screen, this is the static inventory where you keep on adding, or you keep on updating this particular file every time whenever you have a new machine. But this is something like a dynamic inventory where Ansible can talk to the providers. It can be a ServiceNow or any services, and it can dynamically update the inventory. So you don't have to sit and manually add, remove entries in inventory file. So that will be taken care by Ansible. And then, of course, once your playbook is ready, once your inventory is ready, and once the modules are up and running, you can trigger automation to a specific set of hosts based on the inventory. So it can be a Windows or machine, or it can be a Linux-based machine, or it can be any device which has SSH or WinRM access. So typically, Ansible can automate any infrastructure if it can connect to the client using SSH or WinRM. Okay, so that is about Ansible Engine. So let's quickly move on to Ansible Tower. Okay, so as I said, Ansible Tower sits on top of Ansible Engine, and it basically helps to scale, control the operations running on a what you call Ansible Engine. Now, so if you look at the same diagram, now we are moving to a second level, which is the scaling of your automation platform, and that can be done by Ansible Tower. Okay, so basically Ansible Tower will give you the control using a web UI or APIs. It can delegate the control based on role-based access control, and it can scale your automation. So if you observe Ansible Engine, you have not seen any role-based access control or web UI in Ansible Engine. So Ansible Engine is a what you call text-based automation. So where you don't have this kind of features such as web UI, APIs, and role-based access control. So Ansible Tower, something like it enhances the Ansible Engine by providing the control delegation and scaling features to Ansible Engine. And both these Ansible Tower and Engine works hand in hand to automate your task. So don't think that these two will work independently. No, Ansible Tower and Ansible Engine works together to perform an activity. Okay, so what is Ansible Tower? So as I said, Ansible Tower is a UI and a RESTful API which allows you to run a particular automated task, and then it also helps you to run complex tasks by using workflows. Okay, and as I said, Ansible Tower has the features of role-based access control, where you can control the access to a particular workflow or a template based on the roles assigned to the user or a particular team. Okay, and of course Ansible Tower will help you to run the scripts with a single click of a button. So everything will be configured in the Ansible Tower. All you need to do is log in, select the template or the script, just click on the button to start the automation process. And then of course automation will help you to log all the logs into one environment, so that you don't have to search for multiple locations, especially for the logs. Okay. So of course, as I said, Ansible Tower is powerful because it has a lot of additional features. So now let's look at uh, some of the Ansible Tower features. So these are some of the Ansible Tower features where it provides you a push button automation features, where, as I said, uh, these workflows or the templates that you create will be used by the team by using a single click of a button. Okay. And of course, Ansible Tower can use RESTful APIs to connect to any uh, web-based application or API-based application in order to talk to that application. Let's say, for example, if your Ansible wants to talk to a public cloud such as AWS, so it needs a RESTful API to connect to that public cloud. Similarly, if you want Ansible to talk to some other device or maybe some other application, it definitely needs RESTful API in order to talk to that particular application. And then Ansible Tower adds rollback access control to the environment where people will have specific access to specific set of playbooks to run the task. And of course, Ansible Tower has enterprise integrations based on authentication. For this, like your Ansible can be integrated with Radius or Azure AD, or in order to get the authentication. So in this case, you don't have to create accounts internally into Ansible server. So you can integrate your Ansible with the existing authentication systems that you currently have, such as Azure AD, Radius, or any kind of Windows AD or LDAP, and you can use the same credentials what you have. Existing credentials can be used to log into Ansible Tower as well. Okay, and this you can also integrate Ansible with some notification software such as PagerDuty, Salt, and Willow, which can send alerts to this particular notification systems. And of course, you will have all the centralized login when you use Ansible Automation, Ansible Tower. And workflows, we will talk about workflows later. Workflows, as I said, it's a combination of multiple playbook run in a specific sequence. So we will see those workflows later in our slides. Okay, so let's talk about quickly run through some of the features of Ansible Tower. So Ansible, one of the key feature is job template. So you can create the template in an Ansible Tower, and all you need is the job templates will require inventory, it requires credentials, and it requires a playbook. So whenever you wanted to run a playbook, you cannot run a playbook directly through the tower. So you have to convert that playbook to a template. So the template basically needs a playbook. You can see on the extreme right side, the playbook, followed by the inventory, followed by the project name. So when you run this template, this particular Ansible playbook will run especially on the production environment. Okay, and this production environment credentials have been taken from this Azure Service Principal. So these credentials will help to log in to these particular servers, and then it will execute the actual task. Okay, so that is how the templates are configured, and once the template is created, people inside the organizations can use it if they have the proper credentials to run this template. Okay, and then so next important point is inventory. So inventory, you have seen the inventory in Ansible Engine, right, where you have to manually create a file and write all the entries in the inventory file, right? So coming to Ansible Tower, you don't have to write any inventory or any server informations inside a file. Okay, so everything can be created inside the tower, and these nodes will be copied to an internal database. So there are no files when you are working with Ansible Tower. So everything will be saved into an internal Ansible database. Okay, there are no files. Everything will be saved inside the database. So even in the inventory, you can create hosts, you can create groups, and it can also create specific variables to that particular host. Let's say you have a specific host which is running SSH on port 9090. So that kind of what you call customizations can also be done when you specify a particular host. Okay, so that parameters can also be given when you can be created whenever you create a host. And similarly, as I said, you can also create a dynamic inventory where your Ansible can talk to any particular inventory system or any particular environment to get all the details. Let's say if you have a VMware environment running few hundreds of machines, you can integrate Ansible with the vCenter, and it can pull all the inventory from your vCenter to Ansible Tower. So that's where the dynamic inventory comes into picture, which can automatically pull the information from the other third-party clients. Of course, project as the name itself indicates, project is nothing but a logical collection of Ansible playbooks. Okay, so not only playbooks, it's a logical collection of playbooks, inventory, credentials, what you call anything specific to a particular project can be to a particular team can be clubbed together to form a project, such that all the playbooks or all the activities for a particular what you call project can be created inside a project's what you call can be created under a project. Okay, and then as I said, Ansible also supports RESTful API, where RESTful APIs will help Ansible to talk to APIs to connect and get the information or to automate a particular task. And the next thing is role-based access control. In Ansible Tower, you can create roles, you can create teams and users, and you can assign the particular team and roles to a particular playbook or template. Okay, such that a user who has the right privileges to run an Ansible template will be able to run the playbook. Okay, the what you call the person who doesn't have correct access will not be able to run the role-based access control. Okay, so that way you can isolate the playbooks, based on the teams. Okay, so as I said, Ansible Tower also gives you an enterprise authentication, so you don't have to create local accounts in your Ansible Tower to log in. So you can simply integrate Ansible with Azure AD or GitHub or Google Auth2 or your LDAP system, and you can get the same privileges of that user to log into this Ansible Tower. Of course, centralized login. So Ansible Tower can be integrated with centralized logging tools such as Logslash, Splunk, or SumLogic, or any other tools, so that you don't have to log into Ansible Tower to check the logs of your Ansible system. So let's say if you wanted to know when the task was performed, or when the or you wanted to know who has performed a particular task, so you don't have to log into Ansible Tower. So you can simply log into your organization specific logging server, and from there you can get all the informations of your Ansible Tower as well. You don't have to log into Ansible Tower. And then of course, this is the most important point, which is workflows. So workflows, as I said, it's a combination of multiple templates or multiple templates. So if you observe, there are three color codings, right? Blue, green, and red. Blue color coding indicates that these are mandatory runs. Okay, and the green one lines that you see will be run when this particular task is successful. Let's say when this task is successful, then only it moves to this task. And if this is successful, and the task will be sent to the next task. And the red line indicates failure. So when this task is run, if it fails, it will perform this task. So that's the advantage of running workflows. So you can define what to do when a task succeeds and what to do when a task fails. So this is how you can automate your workflows. Okay, so based on the success or failure criteria, you can define the Ansible templates. Based on that, it will execute the playbooks in a sequential order, and you don't have to have any human intervention. Everything is run in a specified sequence. Okay, and the next thing is cloud.redhat.com, which will help enhance your automation platform as a whole. Okay, so if you observe, we have seen Ansible Engine and Ansible Tower, right? So we also have one more option where it sits on top of Ansible Tower, which is nothing but your automation analytics and automation hub. So these will help you to collect the information of all your Ansible platform environments, various environments that you run on different environments. Okay, so what is automation analytics? Okay, so basically, automation analytics is the software as a service provided by Red Hat. Okay, so let's say if you have multiple Ansible towers running in your environment, let's say you have four different clusters are running in a particular environment, and you wanted to know the overall view of or the dashboard of the entire four Ansible clusters. That cannot be possible with your Ansible Tower. So when you log into Ansible Tower, let's say, you will be able to you will be seeing the dashboard only with respect to that particular Ansible cluster environment, but you will not be able to see the details of the other cluster. That issue will be solved with the help of an automation analytics. So all you need to do is you have to register your Ansible cluster IP with cloud.redhat.com, so that the cloud.redhat.com will have all the information of various Ansible towers that you are running inside an organization, so that as a whole you can have a visual dashboard of all your Ansible towers. You can monitor the health, and you can check the status of your various organizations or projects running inside various Ansible towers. Okay, so automation analytics. So how can it improve? So as I said, it automation analytics will help you to monitor the health, usage, performance of all the clusters across your enterprise. You don't have to manually log into each of these clusters to check the status. Everything can be monitored from one single dashboard through cloud.redhat.com. Okay, and this is how the dashboard looks like. So when you log into cloud.redhat.com, and when you click on Ansible Automation, you can see the jobs which are run. The red one indicates it's a fail, and green indicates it's successful. And you can see the cluster errors, configurations, all these things in one dashboard will help, especially the line of business people, to identify the usage of the automation platform which is currently running an organization. And of course, you can monitor all the health notifications from Ansible Analytics through one dashboard. You can also get organizational statistics, like how many playbooks have run, how many operations that they have done. So let's say if you are using Ansible for various automations like cloud, network, and compute, you can see the number of playbooks run on a particular what you call on a particular environment. It can be a cloud-based environment or it can be an on-prem environment. Okay, and you can filter based on your requirement. So if you wanted to filter the number of tasks run based on playbooks or based on cloud or based on environment, you can do all kinds of uh, you know uh, modifications in order to get the required results. And the final one is automation hub. So this is one of the features that the Red Hat has added into Ansible automation. So where Ansible hub will help you to identify the approved Red Hat approved Ansible modules. Okay, so there are various modules which are proprietary to a particular vendor. So, but this automation hub will help you to search the modules which are approved by Red Hat. So you don't have to log into any other portals. Through this cloud.redhat.com, you can easily identify the approved Ansible modules. Okay, so just to conclude what we have discussed so far, this is the overall view of your Ansible automation platform, like what we have seen from the past 1 hour. Okay, so if you look at on the extreme top left, you have admins and users. They start to trigger Ansible playbooks, which they have already written through Ansible Tower. So Ansible Tower has a role-based access control and checks whether these users are eligible to run a particular playbook. Based on that, the playbook will then be handed over to Ansible Engine, and Ansible Engine will run the modules based on plugins placed on the modules. It runs the actual code or actual automation task by connecting to various infrastructure components using SSH or WinRM, and it can automate your entire enterprise devices, starting from your operating system to your switches, load balancing, and including your public cloud. And your Ansible can also do provisioning, configuration management, app deployment, CI/CD, followed by security and compliance, and it also provides orchestration by creating a workflows. You can run multiple tasks. Apart from this, the cloud.redhat.com is sitting on top of Ansible Tower, where this cloud.redhat.com will monitor all your Ansible towers configured in a particular environment, and it gives you a centralized dashboard of your uh, the automation analytics that you're running inside an organization. And of course, Automation Hub will help you to what you call search the approved Ansible modules from Red Hat. So this is the overall view of how Ansible automation platforms looks like, and this is the last slide. So as I said, Ansible has a lot of modules, and the numbers that you see here might vary because every day or every month the modules keep on increasing. So as of now, we have around Ansible has around 150 plus Linux modules, and as far as security is concerned, it has 800 plus modules for 11 different platforms. When I say platform, it can be a vendor, so you can correlate platforms as vendors. Similarly, for the networking, you have 1000 plus modules supporting 65 network platforms. Okay. Similarly, in Windows, you have 90 plus modules and you have 1300 plus PowerShell DSC resources as well. And of course, for the cloud, you have 800 plus modules, and it supports 30 different cloud platforms like Azure, Google, and AWS. So these are some of the modules. I cannot put all the modules inside one slide. So you can always go ahead and refer this URL here, where you can identify all the list of modules that are currently supported by Red Hat or by Ansible. Okay, and the basic thumb rule here is, if you don't see any module inside Ansible automation, you can simply use shell module. Okay, so when you use shell module, you can run any command on any device. That's the advantage of shell module. So if you have module, you can use module. If not, you can leverage on shell module to run any command. So that way you can automate anything, or you can automate any device or any task using Ansible automation platform, and that too without any special coding skill. So that's the overall uh, view of how Ansible automation platform works and the features and benefits of Ansible automation platform. Okay, so moving on. So this is the last part of the session, which is training and certification. So as far as training and certification is concerned, this is the Red Hat learning path for Ansible automation, where you have Ansible 407, which is the I would say it's a preliminary exam for Ansible automation. So where you will see where you will learn how to write a playbook, and then how to implement it and how to execute it. So that way you can learn the Ansible automation in this 407. And this 407 basically talks about the Ansible Engine, not Tower. Okay, and we also had one new what do you call um, course, which is D0409, which is totally on Ansible Tower. Okay, so this will let you understand what Ansible Tower is, how to create workflows and how to run the workflows, and how to give access to a particular playbook, and all these things will be covered in Ansible Tower. Okay. Apart from that, there is one more new course added into a automation platform, which is 477, which will help you to understand the Ansible best practices. Okay, so how to write a playbook, what are the best practices in industry that people are using to automate a particular task using Ansible automations. All these things will be covered in Ansible best practices. And of course, you have exam for 447 as well as for 407 and 409. Okay, so yeah, so you can reach out to Amrita or Srilata, so to get more details about these particular courses and the pricing and all. Okay, so hope this session might have given you a good understanding of what Ansible automation is, and how you can enhance your automation skills using Ansible automation. And I can clearly say that the Ansible automation is the now trending in the market, because this is a very simple automation, very, very simple and powerful automation tool, where you can easily understand and where the organizations can easily implement in their particular environment. So this definitely would add an advantage in your career if you learn automation, so that you can upscale your skill set when you enhance your skill set with Ansible automation. Okay, so that's all I have for today. So before we wind up, any question and answers, any questions from the participants? Either it can be a technical question or a question related to training. Any questions? You can also type in the chat box.